Before we start, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to Shunts TP from my Discord for making this video possible. So it's finally happened. Gaijin has said bollocks to balance and added possibly the most powerful premium in the game. The T-72AV uses the early T-72A chassis, but adds the modern 3BM42 Mango round, as well as third generation thermal optics for both the gunner and commander. This powerful weapon system, as well as decent mobility and armour, combined with the incredibly powerful Soviet lineups, makes this premium one of the most powerful grinders in the game. Alright lads, today I'm going to be talking about the performance, weapons and playstyle of the T-72AV TURMS. Starting as always with the basics, this vehicle is a rank 6 battle rating 9.7 medium tank located in the Soviet tech tree. Being a rank 6 premium, it will be effective at researching vehicles between the ranks of 1 and 7, allowing you to grind out all the vehicles in the Soviet tech tree with this tank. To unlock this tank, you'll have to purchase it on a pack from the Gaijin store. For the cost of €60, you get the tank, 2,000 golden eagles and 15 days of premium time. To purchase the Expert and Ace qualifications for the tank, it will cost you 1,120,000 Silver Lions and 2,100 Golden Eagles respectively. Being a premium, the tank naturally has a low repair cost of 3,470 Silver Lions, but this may increase in subsequent patches. Going on to the rewards, and the vehicle has a base RP modifier of 2.26, which gives you an RP modifier of 226% with a free-to-play account and 452% with a premium account. Your base Silver Line modifier of 1.4 is the highest it can be for a premium. You can expect a 280% Silver Line modifier with a free-to-play account, which rises to 420% with a premium account. Taking a quick look at customization, and we have several camouflages available to purchase, including woodland, desert and winter camouflage schemes. And just like all other modern Soviet vehicles, my personal favourite is the lake green camouflage. Starting with the engine and mobility, and the tank is powered by an engine producing 780 horsepower. Combined with the vehicle's weight of 41.5 tons, this gives the tank a power to weight ratio of 18.8. This is pretty bad to be honest, and you do feel very sluggish at times. It's no match for the American XM1 or the French AMX30 Super Premium. Moving on to the transmission, and the tank can reach a top speed of 60 km per hour, which is quite good. But it's the tank's reverse speed of 4 km per hour that really lets this tank down. This poor reverse speed severely limits the tactical usability of this tank. You're unable to push a ridgeline or corner and quickly retreat. This makes it very hard to engage multiple enemies at once. Being a Soviet main battle tank, the T-72AV is unable to neutral steer. This combined with the low power to weight ratio does leave the tank feeling a little sluggish in comparison to the more mobile Soviet tanks, such as the T-80U or T-72B3. Overall, the mobility of the T-72AV is not one of its strong points. It is slower than practically all the NATO tanks at a similar battle rating. It is mobile enough to get around the battlefield, but not fast enough to give you a tactical advantage, with the worst offence being the dog-awful reverse speed. Moving on to the armour and survivability, and the first thing to mention is that this tank only has a crew of 3 men, with 1 in the hull and 2 in the turret. This gives you pretty poor survivability if a round actually penetrates your armour, especially if the round was fired into the side of the T-72. Not only are the 2 crew members in the turret lined up, you also have a huge autoloader which will detonate if a round hits it. As a general rule for all main battle tanks, but especially for Soviet MBTs, always keep your front towards the enemy. Luckily for you, the frontal hull and turret of the T-72AV is protected by several layers of composite armour, as well as Contact 1 explosive reactive armour. The Contact 1 blocks cover a substantial portion of both the hull and turret, and provide 5mm of protection against kinetic energy penetrators, as well as 370mm of chemical protection. These blocks, in combination with the composite armour, do give you pretty good frontal protection against Heat FS rounds, but against APFSDS rounds, it leaves a lot to be desired. Moving on to the armour protection itself, and to test this, we'll be using the new M829A1 round found on the M1A2 Abrams. Starting as always with the lower frontal plate, and as you can see, we only have around 200mm of effective protection. If we move upwards towards the upper frontal plate, our armour protection does increase up to around 350mm. Note that the driver's hatch area is a weak spot, only providing around 150mm of armour protection. Moving up to the turret, and our cheeks are pretty thick, providing around 700mm of thickness. However, if we move to the front of the turret, where the armour is more square on, armour protection drops significantly downwards, and is easily penetrable by the new modern rounds. Moving to the side of the vehicle, and we have around 100mm of armour on the side of the hull, and when we move up to the turret, the armour protection is very good, at over 500mm, but as we move down the turret, it drops significantly downwards to around 150mm. And finally, the rear of the turret provides 75mm of protection, and the rear of the hull provides just 50mm of protection. Overall, just like the mobility, the Armour Protector is nothing spectacular. As I said in the introduction, this vehicle uses the T-72A chassis, which is a battle rating 9.3 vehicle. You will be easily killed by all of the tanks at your battle rating, and when fully uptiered to 10.7, your armour is practically non-existent. We then come to the weapons and ammunition, and as you can see, the T-72AV is armed with a 125mm 2A46M cannon. This gun is fully stabilised, but has limited vertical guidance characteristics, with an acceptable 13 degrees of gun elevation, but a terrible 6 degrees of gun depression. This severely limits your effectiveness on a ridgeline. The tank can carry 44 rounds in total, and features a 22 round autoloader. If we take a look at the reloading skill under the loader section, and due to our autoloader, we have a constant 7.1 second reload speed. This is half a second slower than the T-80U, and much slower than some NATO main battle tanks, but due to your autoloader, you don't need high crew skills, making this tank friendly for low skilled crews. Moving on to the targeting skill under the gunner section, and we can see that you have a base turret rotation speed of 14 degrees per second, which rises to 20 degrees per second with an ace crew. This is slower than Western tanks, and is very noticeable in battle. It's hard to react quickly to an enemy appearing on your flanks. We next move to the modifications, and I want to point out that this tank gets access to a laser rangefinder, as well as 3rd generation thermal imaging, for both the gunner and commander. As well as these thermals, you also get a nice wide field of view in the gunner sight, as well as a base 4x zoom and an optional 12x zoom. Taking a quick look at the ammunition, and we have 4 rounds available, 2 stock and 2 unlockable. Your first round is a 3 BK-12M heater fest round. It has a very low muzzle velocity of 905 meters per second and can penetrate 414mm of armour at all ranges. This isn't a bad stock shell, but it's slow and pretty underwhelming at top tier. Your second stock shell, and your go-to meme round, is the 3 OF-26 high explosive shell. It has a lower muzzle velocity at 850 meters per second and can penetrate 42mm of armour, with its warhead containing 5.2 kilograms of TNT explosive filler. Your third round is a 3BM22 shell. It has a very high muzzle velocity of 1760 meters per second and can penetrate 425mm of flat armour and 193mm of armour angled at 60 degrees. And finally, your last unlockable round is a 3BM42 shell. This is the famous Mango round. It travels at 1700 meters per second and can penetrate 479mm of flat armour and 248mm of armour angled at 60 degrees. This is a great round that creates plenty of spalling, and it will easily maul any NATO main battle tank you come across. Unlike several other Soviet tanks, you do not get access to a barrel launcher missile such as the 9M119. The T-72AV also features a coaxially mounted rifle caliber machine gun, as well as a pinto mounted 12.7mm machine gun fired by the commander. You also have 8 smoke grenades, which fire 4 at a time, giving you 2 smoke screens. Overall, the firepower of this tank is what makes it shine. While its armour and mobility are quite lacking, the insane firepower makes up for it. You have one of the best rounds in the game, a rather high fire rate, and incredibly high resolution for the gunner and commander's thermals. These assets, combined with a wide field of view, as well as the good levels of zoom in the gunner's sight, allow you to absolutely decimate anyone that wanders into your line of sight. To conclude, the T-72AV is by far the best premium tank currently in the game. It is also located in the most powerful nation currently in the game, which makes the grinding potential of this tank insane. You can make ridiculous amounts of RP and Silver Lines playing this tank, especially in ground simulator battles, where your 3rd generation thermals are in a league of their own. While the armour of this tank is pretty poor, and the mobility is nothing special, the great weapon systems make up for this. When you're down tiered, you can lead the way in a battle, and even when fully uptiered to 10.7, that 3BM42 Mango round makes mincemeat out of NATO tanks. While the tank is very good, you still do need to have good game sense. When and when not to push, when to fall back, basic understanding of top tier meta for example. While I do think this tank is worth the money, if you are new to top tier, or don't even have a top tier vehicle yet, then getting this tank probably isn't a good idea. Top tier in general isn't a good place to learn the game. Beginner players are much better investing in a lower tier premium, such as the T-34-100. As I said, I do think that this tank is worth the money, but it probably will see a battle rating increase in the future. The tank is stronger than both the Leopard 2A4 as well as the T-80B in my opinion, and they are all battle rating 10.0. but as I've said several times now, even in a battle rating 10.7 gauge, the tank is able to hold its own. So this tank may well be the best long-term investment in War Thunder. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If I did my job correctly, hopefully you should have learned something new about this vehicle. If you do enjoy these sorts of videos, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing. But more importantly lads, I hope you have a great day and thank you very much for watching.